Next to you, Starstruck. An Adrienette, neighbors / famous / fake dating alternate universe fanfiction. Chapter 9. When Marinette wakes up from her slumber, she feels completely warm. It's a bit strange considering the fact that her bedroom had a strong aircon that she had to wake up to shut off every morning. But after a few moments, Marinette blinks thrice and her mind begins to register the weight around her. She didn't own a weighted blanket. Those were too expensive, she decided. Slowly she raises her head and almost shrieks. Adrien is peacefully sleeping next to her. His head is buried in the crook of her neck and shoulder, his arms wrapped tightly around her waist, and their legs were almost completely tangled together. Marinette's eyes widen and they dart around. Oh Lord! Adrien looks serene while he is sleeping. She feels that it would be awful to wake him up, so she instead chooses to deal with this situation to allow him to rest some more. She has no idea how long she stayed there. Still half asleep, Marinette drifted in and out of sleepy consciousness. By the time her body had gotten enough sleep, Adrien had begun to stir. Marinette smiles down at him. He looks so soft when he's asleep. She's hit with a sense of, Marinette, no, that is literally so creepy. Stop looking at him while he's sleeping. To be fair, it's a hard task not to look. She laughs a bit to herself. Imagine what Lila Rossi would have to say about this. Probably something totally false and crazy just to get some more clicks and views. Adrien slowly blinks awake and Marinette feels slightly nervous. She hopes he won't jump away from her in disgust, but at the same time she completely understands if he does. Much to her surprise, he raises his head with a sharp inhale and sends a sleepy smile towards her. She'd be totally lying if she said that it wasn't an adorable look. Shh! You can totally call people adorably sleepy when they're your fake boyfriend. It's allowed. Yeah. He raises a hand to rub his eyes, but he doesn't make a real move to untangle himself from her. Marinette's cheeks get just a bit warm at that realization. He stretches. She tries to tear her eyes away. Hey, Adrien says, his voice rasped with the morning. Marinette gulps silently. Good morning, Marinette laughs a bit, disguising her low-key panic. Morning to you too. I guess we fell asleep during the movie, she said, nodding towards the TV. Adrien turns his attention towards it and hums. Marinette feels her heart skip a beat, and she decides that she probably needs to do some thinking back at her own apartment. I don't remember the ending, he admits. I think I just nodded off right after you, Adrien says thoughtfully. Marinette blushes, thinking of last night, when she was just so sleepy that she just fell onto his shoulders, and now they were tangled up and cuddled together in such a domestic way. Probably, she says. Adrien shifts his arms a bit, and Marinette takes that opportunity to grab her phone from the table. Upon turning it on, her body goes into a panic, and she jumps up in a frenzy. Adrien looks at her worriedly, hands out, and his eyes starting around. What happened? He asks. Has something gone wrong? His words are rushed. Marinette waves them off, quite a bit angry with herself. I have to go to work, she explains, brushing herself off and matting down her hair. If she didn't go back to her home and get ready in less than 10 minutes, she'd be late. Sorry for worrying you, but I really do have to go, Marinette sputters. Adrian's posture relaxes, but the expression on his face remains. Okay, and thank you. Last night was really fun. I haven't had a movie night with a friend in so long. In forever, I think. She laughs, rushing her way towards the door. Maybe next time it'll be at my apartment and we'll actually see the end, she jokes. Adrian smiles and nods. I'm in, he says with a huge grin. She smiles back before shutting the door and nearly running down her own. Marinette gets dressed and presentable in record time. Minus all of the time she had to rush to get to school in high school, though. Soon she's out the door and rushing to the subway and finally lets out a breath of relief. It's only then that she realizes that everyone is staring at her, and she'll probably be stared at her workplace, too. She's Adrian Agreste's girlfriend now. Everyone knows Marinette. Her heartbeat rises as she tries to ignore all of the uncompatible stares. Marinette makes a mental note. Find a new way to work that isn't so public. She waves kindly to a particularly excited girl. The girl nearly faints. Marinette is slightly concerned. Marinette has no idea how she's supposed to get any work done with everyone in her office either gaping at her. With everyone in her office gaping at her, some silently and some doing so very audibly. She sees someone fall off their chair in an attempt to crane a good look at her. She winces. This is not the ideal environment to work in. She sighs, knowing that there really is nothing that she can do about it. Marinette, I need to speak with you, her boss calls. Marinette takes a breath and pushes out of her chair to follow her boss into her office. Everyone's eyes are on her, the way that it used to be in grade school when someone was called up to the principal's, and to say the least, Marinette's uncomfortable. What are you all bug-eyed about? Her boss snaps at everyone, scanning dangerous eyes around. Simultaneously, everyone's heads go back down. This is no TV show. I do not care what is happening. I don't want to spectate unless you have all of your work done for the day. And in that case, there is much to do, she barks. Marinette feels a very strong sense of gratitude towards her boss. Her boss closes the door and sits at her desk, a serious expression on her face. Marinette, do you know why I called you here? She asks. Marinette nods. Because of everything that has come to light in the media, she replies. Her boss nods. Yes, exactly. Now, I know you are not basking in all that glory. You are one of my best workers. However, your co-workers seem to be very invested in your newfound relationship. If Marinette was more daring, she'd point out the pink embarrassment on her boss's face. However, Marinette was not that impulsive. I want you to know that if you ever feel uncomfortable with any questions or looks being sent your way, please let me know. This is a professional workplace, and though you very clearly understand that, others do not, she tells her. Marinette nods thankfully. I will, thank you, she says. Her boss nods stiffly. Now, back to your project. I am sure you will want as much time on it as you can get, her boss says with the tease of a smile on her face. Marinette chuckles as she leaves the office. Certainly. When Marinette walks back to her desk, She appreciates the lack of stares and gawks on her. The floor is quieter than usual, but she'll take what she can get. It takes hours, but eventually the silence in the air is depleted and everyone is back to babbling. Marinette lets out a sigh of relief. She is still acutely aware of the looks being sent her way, but they are far and few now. People had adjusted quickly, and she appreciates that. One of her co-workers, a closer one than the rest, asked a bit about everything. I was surprised when I saw it, even more when you didn't tell me yourself. I mean, what kind of work wife are you? Krista teases. Marinette rolled her eyes. I know, I'm sorry. I had to keep it all under wraps, but then the pictures came out and it was a whole mess, Marinette lied. Krista laughed and nodded, cracking her back and letting out a huff of comfort. Marinette understood. Their job was sedentary and monotonous in terms of activity. So, you guys going strong or what? Krista asked. Marinette nodded, debating in her head what she should say. Yep. We had a movie night last night, Marinette said. Krista snorted. Boo, I'm single and all, but okay, that's kind of cute, she says, laughing. After that, Krista had just left the topic alone and went to tell Marinette about her last horrid date. In general, the news didn't really affect her work, and Marinette is content with that. When she's finished with the workday, she's tired. Her boss wasn't kidding when she wished Marinette luck on the client. They were very picky and very hard to please. She normally prides herself on being able to work with even the toughest of clients, but she had to admit this one was really grating on her nerves. Marinette, a voice calls. Marinette turns towards the sound. It's Tikki. She must have waited for Marinette to come out from work. Oh, hello, Tikki, Marinette says with a smile. The red-haired woman walks quickly up to her, matching pace. I felt like it would be good to run through some timeline drafts with you, the woman says. I would hate for things to move too quickly for your comfort or last too long. Marinette nods. She appreciates that Tikki is genuinely caring about what's best for her. Marinette's heard of far too many cold-hearted, famous Hollywood horror stories. She feels lucky to have gotten a caring PR manager. Thank you. We can run through it back at my house, Marinette offers. Tikki shakes her head. My office is rather close by, she explains and points down the street. Marinette's taken aback by how close it is to her own workplace. Oh, that works too. Marinette shrugs. Tikki's office. It's incredibly nice. Marinette's artful eye and design-driven mind flickers around, inspecting every single part of it. It's clean and neat, something Marinette always appreciates. I love your office. It's so clean-cut, and it seems like a really good place to work in, Marinette compliments with a laugh. I may have to take some notes for the next time I work on an office or home office. I hope you don't mind. Tikki chuckles and pushes out a hand casually. Oh, thank you. It's a compliment, really. I like things more minimalistic than most people. I just think a nice, functional workplace is just more productive. Plag, however, disagrees with me, she says. Tikki waves to the office across the hall, and Marinette peers in. It's... well, it's vastly different from Tikki's office. It doesn't seem to be any smaller, but it's certainly more cluttered. Plag's office housed more decorations and leisurely-looking chairs, whereas Tikki's color palette was mostly shades of pink and red with white accents. The office Plag resided in is almost purely black. In the corner, Marinette notes there was a small mini-fridge and microwave, something very strikingly missing from Tikki's office. Even after a few meetings with Tikki and Plag, Marinette had gathered that Plag was a lot more laid back and casual in his work than Tikki was. It only made sense that his office reflected it as much as Tikki's office mirrors her work style. "Oh wow," Marinette comments, trying to think of words to use to describe it without being completely rude. "It certainly looks like his office," she decides on. Tikki lets out a twinkling laugh. "You can call it what it is, an absolutely tumorous cataclysm," Tikki jokes. "I know my husband is the least organized person around. He knows it too, lest he tunes out all of my nags about it. Truly, if he did tune it all out, it does not shock me," she hums. Marinette laughs a bit. Tikki and Plag are total professionals when working together, but occasionally they'll slip in little comments about the marriage, and Marinette just can't help but swoon a bit. They had the type of marriage that she wants for her own future. Fun, sweet, teasing, strong, and well-working. "He's still a boy, I'm afraid. A boy at heart. Hasn't changed since high school," Tikki says with a shake of her head. Marinette smiles and nods. Tikki pushes a few stacks of paper in front of her. Marinette picks up the first page. It's a short timeline with scratched notes on it. "Plag discussed the schedule with Adrienne early this morning. He wrote in a few notes on what he felt might work better. I'd like you to review it, put your own opinions on what to do or when to announce things," Tikki instructs, folding her hands in her lap. "If there is anything you'd like to take out, just tell us. Write it in. We'd like to try our best to take it out. However, these," she points to some highlighted lines on the page, "cannot be removed because they are too crucial to the overall plan, lest we want to break up that Lila Rossi would be all too pleased to cover to turn the worldview of you classic," Tikki says seriously. Marinette nods and sharply inhales. She's reminded of that again. This entire charade was just a way to keep her away from the claws of the internet. She feels a bit like an imprisoned intruder who is ordered to entertain a temperamental and a hot-headed king. If she plays all her cards right, she may be freed from her chains to live another day. If she fails, then she's thrown to the wolves to be torn to shreds. Reading through the notes carefully, Marinette makes small annotations, but for the most part, she's content with the plan. Adrienne had already made the changes that she felt were necessary, so there wasn't much more to add. "I think this is all good," Marinette says, pushing back the papers to Tikki. The latter shuffles through them quickly, then smiles and files them away. "Wonderful. Now we may begin to set up the premiere dates, appearances, and interviews," Tikki says. Marinette wonders where along the past 2 weeks that entire sentence had ceased to faze her. "Now," Tikki says with a serious look on her face, "how are you feeling about all of the rumors and attention?" she asks. "There will be plenty more articles and tweets soon, but I would like to make sure that it's going to be manageable for you. I understand how hard it is to be thrust into this world, Tikki says. Her eyes are soft, and Marinette feels like she could admit anything to this woman. Oh, I've actually been doing pretty well right now. They've all been pretty positive. The captions and pictures from the teenage girls have actually helped sway the public to like me, Marinette explains. Tikki breaks out into a huge grin. Oh, that's wonderful, she says. I'm glad you're being yourself with these girls. Never put on an act. It only ends badly, she advises. Marinette doesn't take it lightly. Tikki must have instructed some other star that same advice years ago, just for them to not listen and their entire lives fall apart. Marinette shudders a little at that thought. I try not to, Marinette admits with a small smile. And all of the girls were just so sweet, there was no way I could act fake to them. Tikki nods and laughs a bit. Oh, I don't think you could ever be fake to anyone, she says honestly. Marinette feels pride well up in her. She's sure Tikki's come across dozens of phonies in her career and to impress her with veracy is pleasing. I try, Marinette laughs. I can tell, Tikki smiles. Marinette feels her heart warm. When she first got into this mess, got caught in that picture with Adrienne, Marinette was sure her life was going to be over. But now, she's befriended Adrienne and has had a kind movie companion. And Tikki was quickly becoming a good friend too. Perhaps it was just her luck, her good luck, that Marinette is in all this trouble, she thinks, with a slight smile on her face as she listens to Tikki animatedly talk about a past client. She thinks that this might actually be one of the best things to have ever happened to her.